Hello, can you believe it's week 3 already? This is the week 3 video for BT120, and the video is going to kind of go over the things you can expect for this week. We know if we're in Moodle and we're down in week 3 that this chapter and the learning of this week is all about customizing paragraphs. And in the last couple chapters we learned how to use Word a little bit, we learned how to format, we learned last week about themes and designs and kind of some fun stuff to make our documents look professional. This week we continue on that theme and we're customizing paragraphs this time. We remember a paragraph is anything between 2 enters. So it could be a word, it could be, 100 words, but anything between 2 returns it considers a paragraph. And you're going to learn how to format those by bullets. We're going to learn how to add shading and borders and how to sort paragraphs. So you're going to learn how to do the tabs on the horizontal ruler, which will be really beneficial because we're going to be using that in our memo assignments this week. You're going to learn how to copy and paste, which I know you know how to do, but we're going to learn something a little bit more advanced about something called paste options. So as you do the tutorials and read your book about those, you're going to learn some interesting stuff. And you're going to learn about the clipboard, how to use it, where it is, and probably learn quite a few features that you had no idea existed. So that's where you're headed this week. This video is going to talk to you about the memo assignment. It's going to give you some announcements, and we're going to talk about your homework in general. So let's start with our announcements. And what I want to make sure that you know is that this is week 3, of course, but we know in week 5 we've got our midterm coming up already, right? 2 weeks away, and next week the first part of the midterm is going to open up. You don't have to take it then, but you can. The midterm is comprised of 2 parts. I'm sure that you saw that on the assignment syllabus. But part 1 is a take-home test you'll do at home. It's multiple choice in Snap, so very similar to the current multiple choice test that you've been taking already. There'll just be more questions covering the first 4 chapters, chapter 1 through 4. Part 2 though, right, that's the performance part that you're going to take in the testing center, and see your assignment sheet in the syllabus for the dates that will be available to you there. You have to be in a proctored environment, and in the syllabus I talk about if you can't come here to campus, you certainly can set up a different proctoring service, and we also have some online proctors that can work with you at your house to do that. But do contact me if you're not able to come here to the main campus. You certainly can use the Cottage Grove campus or the Florence campus or really any campus around the country as long as you get them set up as a testing center with our people here. Anyway, what I do want to tell you also is that you will get a study guide next week in week 4 that will tell you all the things that you should be reviewing before you take that midterm. So as you're looking at that next week, you're going to make sure that you can do everything on that list, and if you can, you're going to do really well on the midterm. Understand that the midterm, I'll be grading that, so you'll be downloading documents from Moodle, you'll be completing instructions that are given to you as a paper copy in the testing center, and then you'll be uploading them back to Moodle. I'll grade them and the grades will go into Snap, but I'll talk a lot more about that next week. Those are the announcements. We already kind of talked about what this chapter entails, but one of the other things we'll be doing this week is you have a memo formatting assignment in addition to a letter formatting assignment. And then we also start with Google Doc assignments. One of the things we know is that cloud storage is really important. We all have a Google Doc account through our student Gmail account, even though it says My Lane, it's a Gmail account. And we're going to show you in this class how you work with Word documents and Google documents together, and how you can use your Google Drive as online storage, and how you can turn Google Docs into Word docs, and how you can turn Word documents into Google Docs, and why you might do that. So we'll talk a lot about that. There is a video this week. If you take a look at our Moodle site again, week 3, down here, there's instructions for your Google Doc assignment. There's some overviews, little videos for you to watch that just talk about Google Docs in general. And then here's the video that talks to you in a little more detail about the actual assignment. We know, or you'll learn, that Google Docs, it's all in the cloud, and so you can't really upload a Google Doc, you can download it as a Word document and upload that file. However, the assignment instructions that you'll see in the video and will also be posted if we're in Snap. Let me actually go to the right page. It'll also be posted in our Snap schedule in week 3. There's going to be a place for Google Docs, and that is basically not anything you upload, right? But it's going to be a place for me to record your grade. And if I clicked on that, we'll find out it's not a link. You can't even upload anything to it. But what it does is it reiterates those instructions that I gave you in the video on Moodle. Okay, so you're going to complete the instructions. You're going to share it with me. You'll learn through the video how to do that. And this link is just a place for me to put your points. Your documents will be shared with me at this email. And the video will explain all of that. So that's what this week is all about. So let us talk about the last thing that I think is really important for us to talk about in this video. And that is, because we're doing a memo this week, I want to talk about your memo. So under the homework, we have a letter activity. Again, just like we learned last week, we're formatting it like a business letter. But we also this week are learning about memo formatting. And so some of us may have forgotten that under needed documents, this is where we found the instructions or the examples for our business letter format last week. But notice that there's also one for memo formatting. And when we open this up, we can print it, of course. We're just going to look at it right here. So we're going to notice that a memo is very similar in some ways to a letter and very different also in other ways from a letter. We know that a memo is normally typed on letterhead, but not always. We talked about how business letters are always typed on letterhead, or printed on letterhead rather, but a memo usually does have a letterhead at the top, which is a company logo, and it's normally not sent out in the mail. It's normally posted like in break rooms, or it's posted in information binders for people to look at as they come on shift. Notice a couple things, however. The memo also is formatted much more like an email might be. And so if you're thinking about the differences between the business letters and the memo format, you want to think more of the memo as sort of kind of like an email, because you're going to have to remember all the pieces that go to each one. As we look at this memo, we see that we still are coming down to about the 2-inch top margin. We still then are going to start with to, from, date, subject. We have the date, but we have other items too. We notice that these are all capitalized. We notice that we simply are tabbing to the information after those, and these are all lined up. Now, we are going to show you how you're going to set a tab stop so that these are all lined up. And down here in the body of the memo are the instructions for how you set those rulers, the tab stops on the rulers. It talks to you about how you do the memo. So that's the content of the memo this time. So we have the to, from, date, subject. We have our tab stop. I'll show you how to make those in just a second. We have the information here. And notice we're basically doing a regular enter, which means we're in normal style. And every time we enter, it goes down twice. So see, these are double spaced. But because we're in normal style, it's giving us a double spaced return. When we're done with the subject, we hit enter twice. We have a quadruple space return here. And then we have the body, which is the same as the letter. There's no indentations. It's block format. But what is different than the letter is we do not have a complementary close. We do not have a signature line. We have none of that. But we do have initials. If I am typing this memo and it's from somebody else, not me, then I'm putting my initials lowercase right down here. But if the memo is from me, I'm not putting initials down here because it's from me, and I'll initial with a pen up at the top when I print it. The other thing that we might have is something called an attachment. Now in the letter we talked about adding an enclosure. If I was including something in that envelope, we said you only add it if indeed you talked about it in the body. That is the same case here, but we call it attachment because it would be attached to the back or behind the memo rather than being enclosed in an envelope, right? Because these aren't usually mailed. So if the body of the memo talks about something being attached, so please see, let's say, the insurance schedule or the rate schedule or whatever, we're going to use an attachment notation. So that is how we do the memo. The hardest part about the memo is actually setting the tab stops. So what I'm going to do is I'm opening up a Word document and I'm going to show you how you would set a tab stop on the ruler. Now, you're also going to learn that in this week's tutorials, but it's not specific for memos, so I think it's going to help us a little bit more if I show it to you here specifically. So let's get this a little bit smaller. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at a blank document. I have both of my rulers showing. Remember, I do that by going to the View ribbon and clicking on Ruler. I see that the ruler here still default of 1 inch. The grayed out area, just like we talked last week, is default of the 1 inch. And one other thing we have here, can you see over here, this little square? You're going to learn this week that that's your tab selector, and it automatically defaults to an L, which is a left tab. But if I click it, I can change the type of tab that I'm going to apply to center tab or right tab. I can do something called a decimal tab, which lines up all numbers. I can also do something called a bar tab, which puts a line, and you'll learn about that in Snap. And then these are different markers for hanging indents and that sort of thing. So you don't have to change this. We want a left tab, but just understand that if I did want to change it, that's where I would do it. If I'm setting a tab on the ruler, again, there's lots of other ways to do it, but we're doing it on the ruler right now. We're going to know that we need to set a left tab on the 1 inch mark on the ruler. How I do that is simply click on the ruler. Do you notice how it put an L there for me? I can click anywhere on the ruler that I want and apply left tabs or right tabs or whatever kind of tabs I want. And I do that by selecting over here, changing the type of tab, and then clicking on the ruler. It's as simple as that. What happens then now, if I hit tab, my cursor is going to go each time I tab to the next tab stop that I've selected. And it only does that for the area that I have selected in the document. And it's important that I do it before I start typing so it applies to all the document as I enter down. If I had a tab where I didn't want it to be, I simply click and drag it down and it takes it away. Okay, so now that I had my 1 inch left tab stop set, all I would do here is I hit enter a couple times. Again, we want to be right across from the ones. We're at about the 2 inch top margin, somewhere in here, so 2 or 3. You judge. I'm all capping 2, and then I'm going to hit tab. I'm saying this is to all students. Notice that I went right over to the 1 inch mark. I hit enter, all caps, from, and I'm going to put my name here, Lan Johnson. I hit tab. So again, date, whoops, that needs to be all cap. The date is October, I take off my caps, October 3rd, and the last thing is subject. Okay, memo, do that again, memo formatting. Okay, so that's the top part, and noticing each time I hit tab just one time, it lined up right with my 1 inch tab stop that I set. Okay, so that I think is the most important thing to know. The rest of the memo is just no-brainer. I'm going to follow my instructions. I'm going to type the body here, and when I'm done, if I'm typing this for somebody else, I'm going to add initials, and if and only if I mention something is attached, I'll add the attachment notation. That's it. So With that, I'm going to tell you good luck for this week. Let me know if you have any questions. And please don't forget to make sure you're looking at your assignment schedule for notations of important things, and that you're also using Moodle in addition to Snap, in addition to Word. Okay, so good luck. Have a great week. Bye-bye.